Hey guys, Scott here, and today I want to talk about why pretty much no form of matchmaking will act. Dude, this is, hold on. Right. Now, as I said, I want to talk about a big problem with any matchmaking ideas that basically anyone has suggested. I was thinking for a while about a whole blood point based system, sort of how it used to be, but just way more strict. And I thought about counter arguments, and then every single idea that I had, every counter argument, there was always one counter argument that just made it so whatever I was saying didn't matter. And that is there is no incentive to do better in this game. The only thing that you get from doing better and becoming more highly and highly rated is your matches are less fun. That's the only reward that you actually get, and that's been the case since the game came out. There has been no incentive really to win, like, and get your rating or rank up, because the matches you have are just less fun as you get up there. And that sort of nullifies any possible. It nullifies MMR, rank based matchmaking, blood point. It makes it so you have to have a matchmaking system in which players want to win for the matchmaking system to matter. You can have the most perfect, meticulous accounting for every single variable, every play that happens. It's perfect at identifying skill. And at the end of the day, if there's no incentive to win, it doesn't matter. Your system is broken. You need to have players wanting to win, because right now, like I said, all you get is just less fun matches. High level DBD sucks. It's just a boring shit show that works for like 2 or 3 killers, and it's unplayable for basically everything else. So there's no reason to even want to aspire to get to that point. So that makes all these matchmaking systems irrelevant. So I think incentivizing getting higher ranks is really the most important part about any system. And they could do that in a number of ways. I've talked about this, like just something as simple as charms or, cosmetics that only exist when you're, at a certain MMR. And I'm not saying just make it so that very tippy top players get something. You can make it so even like the medium tier players have like, a silver tier charm or cosmetic or something. And, the better players have a platinum one. And then, there's iridescent, like, you could just do things for basically every subset of player, just so they have something to represent what level they've achieved. So they have some reason to actually want to win, because no one wants to keep winning and then just going against, god tier opponents, especially if you're playing killer, because then you just basically locked into playing like 2 or 3 killers and the game doesn't work at that high level. So that is, I think one of the biggest things that they have to address. And it really wouldn't be hard too. And to keep the incentive to want to keep winning, you would have to take the cosmetics away once they, actually drop below that certain point again. So it's constantly like a chase. Oh no, I lost my thing. I want to get it back. So there's more of an incentive to win. Like right now as killer, like I don't really care. Like I still prefer to win. Don't get me wrong. Like when I'm streaming, I prefer to be viewed as a good player by winning all my matches, but I don't go out of my way to do it. Like I'll still give people hatch. I'll let people go. I'll just fuck around during the match. The whole point is I just want to have fun in the actual match. That's the most important part, because winning doesn't get me anything at all. And I think that is one of the fundamental flaws with the system. So let's assume that they actually had, an incentive to win. Well, that brings us to the kind of idea that I've had for a while, and Trickster Shadow actually touched up on it too a bit more, and I think he had a lot of really good ideas I didn't think of, so I want to kind of combine them. It would be a blood point-based ranking system again. So if you were unaware, back in the day, you would actually pip up from Survivor by getting 10,000 blood points, and you would safety pip with 7,000. Killer was based on hooks. And I think it should go back to that. The problem with the old system is it was too lenient. It was, 10,000 blood points. You can just fucking roll out of bed and you get 10,000 blood points. That's nothing. They needed to make the actual values for Survivor much higher, like 20,000 minimum to actually pip. And Trickster Shadow had a great idea, so you would not be kind of, limited by the killer and how they play and stuff like that, that you would actually get a percentage of the blood points that your survivors get if you're like being chased by the killer, for example. So if you're being chased for a minute, you get a minute worth of 3 gen times, and then, a fraction of that. So you're still getting something. Additionally, all the blood point categories now become uncapped. So if you're the one guy that does every single generator, that you did a shit ton of works. You kind of deserve to be, rewarded for doing all that work. If you're on the killer for the entire time, your boldness is still, 20,000 points because you ran the killer the entire game. So uncapping these values makes it so, obviously you still have a max 32k, but uncapping these values makes it so you can be rewarded even if the killer, for example, just face camps one guy to death. Everyone can still do 5 gens and exceed, the actual blood points for that actual match and still get just enough to at least, safety pit. They're probably not going to win if it's just a face camping Bubba, but also the killer is not going to win because he's only going to get like 2 or 3 hooks. So at least in that scenario, the survivors break even. It's always a pain in the ass going against those types of killers, but there's nothing you can do to stop that. If people want to play like that, it's impossible to actually stop that. So I think at least making it so the survivors break even because the caps are not there anymore would make it better. And the reason this system I think is so much better is because it's the only way to ensure survivors are doing enough things to be, considered worthy enough to rank up. Same thing with killer. If you slug everyone and just one hook everybody, it's not nearly as impressive as 12 hooking everybody. So in both scenarios, you should be rewarded for more hooks, and you should be rewarded as survivor for just simply doing more things per match. That way, a Claudette that just hides all game and then gets the hatch and still gets 20k blood points, now, they're not going to be rewarded as much. Actually, they're not going to get 20k if they hit all match. They probably get something about like 15k, right? So they would not get rewarded in the same way as a person that's getting chased, doing gens, doing heals, breaking totems. Like, all these things make it so people have to play the game more. And an interesting side effect of this is that if you have a scenario where you're in an even matchmaking wise, so the game thinks that the killer and the survivors are on equal skill level, and the killer is getting stomped, you can still have it so the game will manually extend itself if the win condition becomes redefined as not just escaping for survivor anymore. If the win condition becomes get over X amount of blood points per match, survivors will have to actually manually go and find the killer and force interactions with him, which may feel, a bit like they're coddling to the killer, and it might seem insulting, but the alternative is they just do all the gens and you do nothing. So I think that's still a better alternative because this game is best when it forces killer-survivor interactions. In fact, that's the only time the game is actually enjoyable to me, and I think to most people. Otherwise, you're just basically playing a single-player game. So if we have a system that's based on blood points, it'll force interactions if the killer is getting destroyed, and it'll basically make survivors manually want to take chases or try more bold plays to get over that value. And even if they die for it, the whole point is escaping is not really the win condition anymore. It's just how many blood points they get. So even if they might die, they might end up still considered to be having a win. And I think it's a better idea because it really incentivizes everyone to try to extend the match. Because even lore-wise, this sort of makes sense, right? Because escaping is not, it doesn't do anything for the whole, the entity. The whole point of these trials is for the entity to basically watch a spectacle and feed off the hope of the survivors, right? That's like the lore of what the entity is supposed to do. When the survivor escapes, they don't go anywhere. They just go right back into another trial. They're not really winning. So I think manually extending these matches to, make the spectacle, last longer is sort of actually lore friendly too, if you care about that kind of stuff. So, I think that's just the main ideas I want to talk about. I think it seems weird at first manually extending matches if the survivor or if the killer is kind of losing really badly. But at the end of the day, if that gets people to interact with the killer more, I think that is a worthy change because no one's having fun just repairing 3 gens and leaving without getting chased. I don't think anyone has fun doing that. So even if it means throwing yourself at the killer to manually get, I'm not saying kill yourself, just, get near the killer, get the, get like stealth blood points or something like that. That could be a thing as well. Like, the whole stealth-based gameplay, it can still be rewarded. I'm not even sure if I've talked about this on this own video. Typically before I record videos, I walk around my room and rant about what I'm going to say. So if I'm repeating something, this is awkward, but if not, the whole stealth play style can actually still be rewarded. You would just make it so that, because right now you actually get blood points if you're near the killer. And it's just a very tiny amount. So you can make it so if you're not in a chase, but you're very close to the killer, you gain like 10 times more blood points than you used to. So even if you're making those stealth plays right around a rock or something like that, and you're just staying just out of the killer's line of sight, you can still even reward that gameplay. You can get a shit ton of boldness by just narrowly avoiding the killer. If you're a Claudette that's like hiding in a corner of the match, you're not going to get rewarded. Who fucking cares? You don't deserve to be rewarded. But people who are making, in chase stealth plays or near misses and stuff like that, you'd still get rewarded. So even that playstyle would be accounted for as well, and you would still get blood points even if you prefer like not direct interactions with the killer. You can still avoid them and still get blood points. So yeah, I think that's it. I just wanted to go over that whole blood point based pipping system for survivors. I think that's a lot better of an idea than whatever they're doing or planning to do. But at the end of the day, none of this shit matters until there's an incentive to actually want to win. And until there is, no matchmaking system will actually be functional, because matchmaking systems are based on the fact that a team wants to win. And as long as that's not the case, as it is now, well, none of them really matter. So that's it. Video over. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.